Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 2084 AN. Today's date is January 30th, 2020, and the title of the episode is Central Bank Push Just Backfired, Patriots Saw It Coming, Economic System Protected. Now, before we get started, let's talk about being prepared. A famous movie villain once said, "Introduce a little anarchy, upset the established order, and everything becomes chaos." True words have rarely been spoken. History has demonstrated this truth repeatedly. A stock market crash, a terrorist attack, the power goes off longer than expected. These things happen without warning, and when it's breaking news, it's too late to prepare. Now you're in a panic scramble. To avoid the chaos, here's one thing you should do. Build an emergency food supply. I trust and use my Patriot Supply to do this. Get started with a 2-week food kit to get you started. This week, save 40% on these food kits when you go to my special website, preparewithx22.com. These kits include breakfast, lunches, dinners that last up to 25 years in storage, and they arrive fast to your door with guaranteed 2-day delivery. Those that know what's coming are preparing today. You should too. Go to preparewithx22.com and save 40% right now and click the link below. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, Trump and the Patriots, they understand that they need to keep this central bank system moving along. And they understand that they need to keep it moving along because they're creating a parallel economy. Now, for those who don't understand what I'm talking about when I say parallel economy, go back to the 70s, right before we came off the gold standard. What was the deep state, the central bankers setting up then? They were setting up the fiat system. They were making deals out in the Middle East. They were ready to move the entire economic system and place it on oil, removing it from gold. So they were creating a parallel economy. What is Trump and the Patriots doing now? They're taking this fiat system, which exists today, which is a central bank illusionary system. They're letting it run its course. They're using all the weapons against the central bankers to pump up the statistical numbers to keep the entire system alive, while they're bringing back manufacturing, while they're resetting the trade deals, while they're ready to bring the system back to sound money. When you hear manufacturing, when you hear trade deals, when you hear sound money and those people that are going to be coming onto the Fed, those people are not going to be working for the Fed to make the Fed better. Those individuals that are being brought into the Fed, they're the ones who are going to destroy the Fed, who are going to restructure the Fed. So when you see manufacturing, trade, the USMCA, the trade deal with China, the trade deal that they're making with the UK, the trade deal with Japan, that is the parallel economy. The central bank system never wanted that. Actually, they were trying to get rid of all of this. That's what we mean by a parallel system. Trump is bringing everything back to the United States, creating new trade deals, resetting everything the central banks have done over a long period of time, where they moved all the workers and the manufacturing and companies out of the country with all their regulations and taxes and everything else. Trump is reversing this. So that new system that he's putting into place, he's creating the structure, that is going to support the new sound money system. Just like in the 70s, when we were on the gold standard, we had Kissinger out in the Middle East working on deals with all the different countries in the Middle East to produce oil and to sell the oil using the dollar. And when the time was right, they moved us from a sound money system over to a complete fiat system where they can just create currency and allow the government to grow. This was their plan from the very beginning. And this is what we're talking about when we're saying a parallel economy. And this is just the beginning. Now, the central bankers, as we know, they don't want this to happen because they lose control. They lose their system. So they're going to do everything they possibly can to stop this. We'll be talking about that in just a minute. But we can see that the GDP numbers, they're based on the people spending money. And the more they spend, the GDP rises because it's 70% of GDP. This is why Trump and the Patriots, this is why they understand if they continually cut taxes, it gives people more money. If people have more money, they spend more money. They feel comfortable. So right now, when we're looking at GDP numbers, we're around 2.1%. Overall in the year, 2.3%. Actually, we beat estimates, which were 2%, and now we're at 2.1%. Remember, these numbers are manipulated. The stock market's manipulated. It's all manipulated. This is a central bank system. Let's not forget that. Trump understands this. He knows how to manipulate these numbers, just like the central bankers, just like everyone that came before him. He's using all this to his advantage. And I wouldn't be surprised very soon if we see huge tax cuts. We understand that Trump has already mentioned this, that he was going to bring in a tax cut for the middle class. What does that do for the middle class? It allows them to have more currency. If you have more currency, you feel good, you feel comfortable, which means you spend that currency. And if they spend that currency, what happens? The GDP numbers move up. It's about keeping this system alive long enough, and in the process, removing a lot of taxes, removing a lot of regulations, and allowing people to live. Now, we know that the central bankers, they don't like what they're seeing. They see the UK, they now have the Brexit, they're leaving the EU, other countries are going to follow. They see that Trump is removing all the globalist trade deals. He's setting up his own trade deals that have nothing to do with the central bank. He is also bringing back manufacturing and building a manufacturing trade powerhouse to go up against the globalist system, to go up against those individuals in China. Remember, everything was going to move away from the U.S. So what have they done? They created an event in China, and this is payback for those individuals that are not following their playbook. They've released this bioweapon, and it is a bioweapon, to make it look like we have a major problem. And if you notice, they released it in China on purpose, because China was the hub of the central bank trade system, manufacturing system, you name it. And they knew that if they bring China down, guess what comes down with it? The rest of the economic system. Now, the Federal Reserve is watching this very, very closely, and they're warning that this might impact China's economy and the world economy, which might throw the world into a Great Depression. Think about this for a sec. Think about what the central banks are doing once again. Now, do you think the Patriots knew this plan? Do you think they knew that they were going to try to do something to bring down the entire economic system? Of course they did. They knew this from the beginning. Actually, this whole thing might have backfired on them. Think about what is happening here. They're using this bioweapon that they created, and they're pushing fear around the world. Now, in China, what's happening? Well, everything's being shut down. Their supply chains, companies are very nervous. They can't control an outbreak like this. What does this mean? It means companies and others who work within their supply chains might say, you know something? Maybe we shouldn't be in China anymore. Maybe we should move ourselves out of China. So I know the central banks, they're trying to push this to bring the system down, but I think this is going to backfire right now, because now companies are thinking about this, and there's also tariffs on China, and these companies will start to back out, which means jobs will leave China. Jobs will come back to the U.S. or go to other places. This is exactly what the Patriots want. And we already know that there's vaccines ready to go. They don't release something like this unless they have vaccines on the ready. And we're already getting reports that there's no problem here. Actually, Trump is creating a task force to look into this coronavirus problem. So they're going to start investigating, just like Durham, just like Barr, just like Huber. They'll be investigating all of this, and we'll have to see what this turns up. This tells me that Trump and the Patriots, they knew that this was going to happen, that they knew the central bank, the deep state, they were going to try something like this. And you can see the mainstream media, they're going crazy over this. And we'll be talking a lot more about this in the next report. But everything the central banks, everything the deep state have tried to do has backfired. And I believe that this is already backfiring on them because they can only take it so far. Because after months go by and there's nothing, it falls apart. Remember the Zika virus? Remember Ebola? Remember all these things? Once they announced the vaccine, it fell apart. How did it just disappear? They didn't have a vaccine. They weren't vaccinating millions of people. How did all of this just die out? Think about it. This will burn itself out just like the rest. But they're trying to take this small window to create enough fear to bring down the system. The Patriots know this. But in the end, it's going to work out for the Patriots and not the central banks. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.